So this weekend I sat down and watched all three Indiana Jones movies with my son, so I figured I'd take the chance and start reviewing the movies. And now I'm on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Just a little intermediate here. In case you hadn't noticed, I have been labeling my reviews by the subtitle. You know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom. That is because I don't want a long name in the review, so this one will be named The Last Crusade. The next one will be Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I will do that tomorrow. So, yeah. So, let's talk about Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. To me, watching this, well, so what's the story here? Whoa, okay. So, Indiana Jones, I like the beginning of this, though. So, I said I'd mention this. I'm going to talk about this now. I said that they can't get a new actor to play Indiana Jones, like Dylan O'Brien or whatever, unless they can actually do the motions. Shot for shot, be a young Harrison Ford. In this film, River Phoenix is Indiana Jones. He is the epitome of a young Indiana Jones. He has the motions, the moves, the attitude, everything. It's like he studied the first two films, how Harrison Ford portrayed Indiana Jones, and put that onto the screen. It is amazing, and I might have to start trying to find River Phoenix's back catalog, because I hear people say a lot of things about how he's a great actor, and I have never seen anything he's done except for this. I'm gonna have to check it out, but yeah, he perfectly encapsulates what Indiana Jones is. And I love the transition cause the thing is that Indy is a Boy Scout back in the day, young Indy, and he finds that somebody who dresses like Indiana Jones has found this thing called the Coronado. And so he takes the Coronado, and there's this big chase. And we see how he gets the scar on his lip. That's from when he tries to use the whip on the lion, and it cracks him in the face. And, you see, he loses the Coronado to the guy because he takes it home to show his dad, and they're not listening. And so then they call the sheriff, his buddy in Boy Scouts called the sheriff. I don't know if he's in on it or if the guy just lied to him and he believed him, but say that the kid stole it from him, which is not true. Well, it's true, but it's not his, you know what I mean? And then the guy, hands it to him, puts his hat on him, which is the same hat, and you get a transition. He puts his head down, and when he puts his head up, it's now our Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. He's on a ship, it's raining, and we see the guy that the other dude gave the Coronado to, and he was going to get the Coronado, so he finished that, came full circle for that artifact. And then he gets told by Marcus that somebody is looking for the Holy Grail. And someone comes to him and says, hey, I want you to come look for the Holy Grail. And he says, oh, that's the person that they have has gone missing. And he says, that's really my father's, expertise. And he said, we know that's who's missing. And he says when you get there, a Dr. Snyder will be there to help him. And this is an introduction to Elsa Schneider, who is the female of the film. And it's an interesting twist. This female is supposed to be, you think, the female protagonist, but it turns out she's a Nazi. And she's one of the bad guys. So that's the twist. But what I've seen from this film is she may be a Nazi, but she's not evil per se. There are times you can see on her face that she really does sort of care about Indiana Jones. And I love the joke about when Indy asks his dad how she knew he was a Nazi. He says she talks in her sleep. And then they put two and two together, they both slept with her. So that's kind of, first of all, And second of all, it's just like, what? She did both of them. So, but yeah, and it's this little notebook that Henry sent to Indy that contains the location of the Grail. and you have to do 3 different tests once you get there. And the movie, for the most part, is just about getting to there. Once you get there, you get all the, the booby traps and stuff like that. And what's interesting for me is that, remember I talked about in the first film about Alfred Molina, and how the booby traps activated when he went back through them. Here, they don't. They're able to run back through them to find. The Nazis want the Holy Grail because they want to have the Fuhrer drink out of it. Now imagine that. If Hitler was immortal. Just imagine. But, there's a bunch of chases. There's car chases. You get Sala back in this again, and he's involved in the climax once again. And John Rhys Davies is a wonderful character. One thing I find about in this movie is that Spielberg likes to do multiple captures in the same film. And I'm not sure if I really like that. Like specifically in this one, Henry's captured, and then Indy comes along and he gets captured. They're both captured. They get away, and then they're both captured again with Sala, and then they get out. But then they're caught again, and they shoot Henry. So that's 3 different times they're captured. You know what I mean? And then so now Indy's got to go get the Grail to give to Henry so he can drink it. And he passes the test. You get that scene. You must choose wisely. And Elsa purposely, you're not going to change my mind on this, purposely chooses the wrong Grail and gives it to the guy. And there's a twist in this where it's the guy that hired Jones and both the Joneses that's behind it, which that's 2 movies that if you're keeping track, that's 2 movies so far that I know of that have Sean Connery in the film, and it turns out the person that hired him is the one behind it. The other one, of course, being A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but I'm just saying. And so he shoots Henry, so that he has to go get the girl, come back, and Elsa purposely gives this guy the wrong cup. You're not going to change my mind on that. I'm pretty sure she did it on purpose. Because the look she gives Indy is like, I'm tricking him. And he drinks out of it, and he just the effects, much like the effects in the first one, just mind-blowing special effects, and it's just, One thing I want to say, though, and this is through all 3 of these first films, is that it's painfully obvious when they're on a blue screen, or a green screen, whatever, when they're screening. It's painfully obvious. Something with the keying, or whatever they do, it's painfully obvious they're in front of a screen. And I stated for this one purposely because it's most notable in this one. You notice it the most in this one, as well as the other ones, but it's very noticeable. And mostly in this one. But so Elsa gives the guy the wrong one. He dies. And you get the line, he chose poorly. Even though he didn't choose it. And then Indy is able to find the right one. Takes it to his dad. It works. And you see him pour it on the sore. Or not the sore. The wound, I should say. And it makes a burning sound. And it heals him. I guess. And then Elsa, despite the facts that they say, hey, you can't take that past the little symbol thing, she does anyway, and the thing cracks, it falls, and she dies trying to reach it. And then Indy's trying to reach it. And throughout the film, Henry has been calling him Junior. Junior. And you find out about that a little bit later. But it's finally when he calls him Indiana that he snaps out of it. And I like that. He's calling him Junior throughout the whole thing. And then it's finally he says, Indiana! And he snaps out of it. And they have to let it go. And some people have complained that Indy shouldn't look old in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because he also drank from it. He chose wisely. But, actors, you can do CGI, but the CGI in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is shit anyway, but who knows. So anyway, Yeah, and then at the end, Salah finally asked the question everyone's been wondering throughout the entire film. Why do you keep calling him Junior? That's his name. Henry Jones Jr. He's a junior. Even my son's sitting there going, Junior? I'm like, yes, there is an interesting tidbit. And I forgot to mention my Temple of Doom one. But, because it's in Temple of Doom. But there is a hint of what was to come with Star Wars. Because there is a tiny hint in the score that sounds like Duel of Fates. Where it goes, oh, oh, oh. And that was in the Temple of Doom score. I forgot to mention it there. But guys, this movie is great. It's on par with the first film. But I feel like it's a little bit less than the first film due to the bad green screen. And just the fact that it get captured 3 freaking times in the same movie brings it down for me. So I'm going to give it a 9, at least. A 9 for me for The Last Crusade. So what are your thoughts on Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. I'll see you in the next one.